Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio. Ready to revolutionize your franchise with AI? Franchise Now empowers franchises with advanced AI solutions, automatic processes, and enhanced marketing strategies. From personalized customer interactions to predictive analytics, we help you harness AI to drive growth and efficiency. Transform your franchise with the power of AI. Visit Franchise Now to learn more and take your business into the future. Now, here's your host.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and we are the podcast that spotlights brands, innovators, and leaders driving success in the franchise industry. And we have a truly inspiring story today that blends business, purpose, and personal passion. Joining us today are Mike and Adie Walls, franchise owners of Caring Senior Service in Lake Jackson, Texas. Their mission is to provide compassionate care for seniors, and it's inspired by Adie's grandfather's battle with Alzheimer's. So we're really interested in learning more about that. But along the way, they've built a thriving business and even earned the prestigious, and it is prestigious, I'm very involved with these awards, Franchisee of the Year award. There can only be one, so that's pretty amazing. And so we're excited to hear their insights on franchising, marketing, and making a difference in the lives of seniors and families. Welcome to the show, Mike and Adie.
Thank you very much. We're really excited to be here, Rob. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. So it's one of my favorite questions. I love to tee it up. Tell me, how did you arrive at being a business owner? And I know that you were in franchise development, which obviously you were very involved with the idea of business ownership and sharing that with someone else. Then you flip sides. So tell me a little bit about how that happened and your journey to becoming a team here, a husband and wife team to build this business.
Yeah, so it's an interesting journey to get here, that's to be sure. I had dabbled with being a business owner in the past, and in the kind of 2008, 2009 bubble burst, that occurred, my business at the time didn't fare very well. So I was unemployed. I was looking for a job. And luckily, I came to know Caring Senior Service. I had never done anything in franchising before. They were looking to really expand their franchise growth, and so we both kind of took a chance on each other, and that's how I got into franchise development in late 2009. From there, I think we, over the next 3 or 4 years, expanded by about 50 or 60 units. And what was interesting was along the way, of course, in franchise development, you talk with people at all hours of the day. I live in Texas, so if I'm speaking with somebody in California, there's a 2-hour time change, or if they're on the East Coast, there's a 1 hour, and so it might be after dinner or something like that. Adie's listening to me on the cell phone, going over the spiel of what the Caring Senior franchise opportunity is all about. But at some of the conferences and things, she would start to attend with me and got to know many of the existing franchise owners and some of the new franchise owners that I had helped bring on board. And I think started to, feel kind of called to this. And it was, I kind of would like maybe for her to jump in and give her side here, but
yeah.
But many of our franchise owners would talk with her and say, you would be perfect for this. You really need to get into this. So
that's what they said. My youngest was starting kindergarten, so I was looking at going back to work. And as more people said, yes, you should think about this. We looked in our own family. My grandfather, like you said, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2010. So we were dealing with that for a couple of years. And finally, we decided that, yes, we needed to do this. And that would help me to take care of my grandfather and my grandmother. I was very close to them. I'm the first grandchild, but I consider myself the fourth kid because I was stepping in and doing a lot of things that typically the daughter does. So Caring Senior Service just helped us to be able to do that. So,
so how do you think, just kind of made me think of this, but how do you think that affected how you guys approach this business, how you approached, how you built it, how you now manage it? I know that never leaves you, that experience. So how do you think that influenced the way you run this business?
I feel like it gave us, the ultimate purpose, because, I was taking care of my grandparents and then sharing with others how I was taking care of my grandparents. It was very personal because, I did it on a daily basis. I got to see it. But I also, learned from my other clients, different things, and took those things that I've learned to help care for them. So, it just kind of was all intertwined, but, the main focus being, I want to treat people like I want others to treat my grandparents, and how, I would care for them.
Oh, you just said my favorite thing, the golden rule. I love the golden rule. I wish everybody followed the golden rule.
Yeah, it would be a lot better.
Yeah, it's a little less work. It's a little less effort. Yeah, cool. Well, that's amazing. I love the industry. I am in that age range where I have my mom, and my dad did pass away at 82, but I was very happy he had that life. And my mom's 86 and doing pretty good. But definitely because of my relationship with the industry and with some of the brands that do such an amazing work, like you guys, I was able to get some guidance and experience how that makes the other person feel, right? The family. And I'll tell you, it was a 15-minute consultation that really gave me peace of mind. We like using the phrase peace of mind a lot in a lot of marketing that we do because it's so true. Oh my goodness. It was, and I would just encourage anyone listening, make sure you speak about it, reach out, because it makes you feel better when you understand what to do. When you're dealing with parents. It really is it's a weird shift when you start having to take care of your parents, right? After all those years of them being your parents. And so anyway, I had a great experience and felt really good in that. So let me ask you, maybe pivot over here to Mike. So you were doing franchise development, right? And you and I know that is, for anyone listening, that is the side where you're helping share the opportunity with others that are thinking, yes, I'd like to start a business and not sure where they want to start it, but this is a great industry. And so they wind up talking to Mike, and Mike, you helped grow that business, the same brand you're a part of, you helped grow that. So doing that role for so many years and then coming over and becoming a franchisee, tell me, were there any adjustments? Were there any challenges? Any notable things that you said, oh my goodness, I didn't realize?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what's pretty funny is I think a lot of people thought, well, you were already involved, at the franchisor level and, on the franchise development side, this should be a cakewalk. And it's like, I could talk about the business a lot, and I even thought I understood it. And wow, being on this side of the table, and working as a franchisee and an operator was, there was a lot of eye-opening experiences along the way. Luckily, my transition was helped so much by Adie. As we launched our franchise, I was still working in FranDev, and so she was, the operational side of our franchise. So we worked in the same office, but we were filling very different roles. I was very little involved in the franchise at the time, other than a sounding board or sometimes a punching bag, maybe for Adie at times. But it slowly, developed where, as our franchise grew rapidly, I needed to pivot and move into, full-time working in the franchise. And I remember that conversation I had to have with our CEO, basically saying, I'm going to have to quit. I'm going to have to leave the franchisor because my business, my wife, my family, they need me. And I was really enjoying it too, which was wonderful. And not only do we get the opportunity to care for our own family members, but getting into that side of the business and no longer just talking about it like I had done previously, I found to be extremely rewarding, both personally and financially, if I'm being honest. So it was fantastic. But yeah, the number one question we get asked is, how on earth are you able to work with your spouse? And
well, that is a testament to your relationship, because I agree. I understand what you're saying. It's another level, another dimension, but it's awesome.
Yeah. And for us, I mean, working with each other, this is the first time we'd worked, together like this. And yeah, that is the most challenging part, because we don't get a break from each other anymore. Right. And so it blurs the lines between where does business end and where does, our life as husband and wife and a family, and it kind of all intertwines. And I mean, yeah, our kids can tell you, there's been conversations 11 o'clock at night, we're heated about something about the business. And they're like, guys, can we, please stop talking about business for a change? That's been the most challenging aspect, is not, as business partners, not being, business all the time, taking time to step back from the business, be husband and wife, be mom and dad, and do those types of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that, as I said, you're doing a family business though, too, which I think is probably edifying on some level. Still challenging to run a business together, but I'm sure you enjoy a lot of the moments together that where you're impacting families, because being married in a family is all about, you want your family to be healthy, but, you feel the community around you and the friends and, and so you want them to feel that too. And so you're doing that good work, must be a good thing for your relationship, but I don't know, it's still work. But so tell me about your community though. Tell me about the area you're in, and how did you go about building the relationships, and what kind of marketing and what is the approach to kind of getting started maybe in that early period? And then now, as you're more mature, like, what does that look like? Who do you work with, and how do you get the word out? Because I know awareness is certainly a factor. People don't just automatically think of you, or maybe they kind of do a little, but the reality is not a lot of people realize what the options are when they experience family challenges like this. So how do you get out there and get the word out?
Yeah. When we moved back home to our hometown where we grew up to do this, we had been gone for around 15 years. But we grew up in the area where we started our franchise and where our family was, and we really thought that it would be a cakewalk. Oh, we're going home. We know everybody. Will be no problem. And boy, were we wrong. And I think you alluded to this just a second ago. This isn't something that people normally think of. We make decisions about where we're going to have lunch on a daily basis, or where am I going to get my car washed, or which vehicle am I going to purchase. Even making a house purchase, we make these decisions multiple times over our lives. Oftentimes, the decision to take care of a loved one, in the long term, an elderly loved one, may be a decision you only make once. And so to get in front of those people when they're ready to make those decisions is quite challenging. And luckily, working for the franchisor, this was one of the most common questions we would get by people investigating our brand is, how do we generate the business, right? How do we get the name recognition? How do we market and get that information out there? So I'll let Adie talk a little bit more about that, because again, I'm still working in FranDev at the time, right? So she's the one who's pounding the pavement.
Yeah, got it.
It was really cool moving back home and, knowing some people. This was a small town, created for Dow Chemical, 70 years ago now. And so, it was very small and it grew from that. But some of the original family members, or families that were here, I was then dealing with, my grandparents' friends, people that we went to church with, people that I had known, through church forever. And, so it was, you still had that kind of close 6 degrees of separation or something like that, where
Yeah, right.
I could tell, if I didn't know, the son or daughter, I knew the grandparents, or they knew my aunt and uncle or his aunt and uncle, or, something like that. So, I mean, that makes it, really interesting. And that, helps make you feel like, okay, hey, I know you and I'm going to take care of you, like I take care of my grandparents, it became, kind of, just your family. Okay. We're going to, care for you that way. So, we did have to go out and talk with the healthcare community, and because that's where you find those people that are, need to make those decisions right away. So, we did go out and visit with them, but
I mean, primarily, talking about these people that we knew or maybe really didn't know, but they knew our family members and whatnot. It seemed like we made those connections after the fact. Those weren't the driving force of how they came to know us. So the interesting part in this type of business is, again, it's not something we think about on a regular basis. So it's really usually in times of crisis where a family member starts thinking about, needing this type of care, which Caring Senior Service provides non-medical in-home care. So caregivers that come into the homes of our clients and help them with what we call activities of daily living. Everything from light housekeeping, cooking of meals, maybe running errands, picking up medications, to the more hands-on personal care, assistance with dressing, grooming, bathing, ambulation, getting around their environment. And so normally what we found is an incident occurs, an illness, a fall, an injury, something like that, that maybe put a loved one in the hospital. And now things have changed significantly for them, and they maybe are not able to live as independently as they could previously. So how do you catch those people in that moment is what we're always trying to understand. And so we reach out to the people who are interacting with those patients in that moment: hospitals, home health care companies, which might be providing skilled services in the home, rehab facilities that will be discharging patients home. And it's old school face to face, it's getting in front of them. Luckily, we're able to have a little bit of a unique story, that we can share with them, which catches ears a little bit easier, I hope. But that's how we drive the marketing and get that name recognition. And then we are in a fairly small town, so the word of mouth by providing superior service, takes it from there and is invaluable.
Yeah, I could tell you, I would guess your reviews are amazing, because in this business, there's such a heartfelt thank you that occurs when that is like, whew, mom and dads are good. They're good. She's covered. You know what I mean? It's like you finally figured it out. It's a good feeling. But that word of mouth and that experience just kind of naturally carries, right? So that's your marketing is your product. Your marketing is your service, right? Doing the good work, and it amplifies the good work. So that's amazing. I love businesses that work that way. It's just like we just do what we do, and then it just grows. So, I mean, if it's really good, that's what happens, right?
Yeah. You have to be excellent, right? You have to be excellent in everything you do. But when the reward, when you get to help, not to besmirch any other business out there, but we're not selling widgets. It's a very intimate line of work that we're in with a very vulnerable population, and to do that, we're blessed and humbled every day.
I love what you just said. Intimate work with a vulnerable population. What an important thing that's a great perspective. It's true. So true. And that is what makes that impact, when people feel that way. Very cool. So tell me a little bit about, I love talking about technology. I'm a technology, it's my background, and marketing, and I come from franchise development, brokerage, and way back when, 20 plus years now. And but was in technology. So I'd love to get into that. And tell me a little bit about that. And so you have this real intimate business model. But there's some technology, right? There's some things going on, and it's just, hey, how can we help this population? So tell me, how do you evaluate? First of all, which is there some technologies that you're a fan of and that you're starting to look at or use or are using? And then, what's your perspective? Like, how do you evaluate things like AI coming down the pike, right? We don't know where things will be in 5 or 10 years. How do you guys like think about that stuff? How do you use it to help your clients?
Yeah, great question. It's been we've been doing this for 11 years, I guess now, and the changes over the past decade have been absolutely incredible on the technology front. We excuse me, I'm a little cold. We started off pretty basic, almost Excel spreadsheet type of database for logging our our CRM, if you will, right, and logging our clients and our employees, and we had multiple different programs and different things. And luckily for us, our franchisor, the founder, Jeff Salter of Caring Senior Service, is really technology focused, and he made it his mission to create a software just for our business that could incorporate all these details: payroll, clocking in, clocking out, telephony, tracking progress notes, tracking patients, tracking employees, all into one. Accounts receivable, accounts payable. I mean, everything got into this one package developed just for our business model. And that happened in 2015. And we're about to adopt the second iteration of that, which is starting to incorporate AI. So that's incredible. And we've had some demos at some of the conferences we've been to. And you said it earlier, like, I have no clue how this is going to impact us. I know it's super cool. It's a bit overwhelming. And a lot of it is just, I'm not a tech guy.
Certainly not.
Yeah. And so we're really interested, from a management, how we manage our business, how that is going to help streamline things and provide efficiencies. With all of that being said, the more time we can spend devoted to our patients and what's going on in the home, and not the mundane goings on of scheduling and payroll and things like that, we can focus on the things that really make a difference. So that's been really cool. Another thing that was super cool, I think it was in August of last year, we implemented some AI technology. Now we place devices in the home of our patients, and kind of like Amazon. We have Alexa in here. Alexa. I don't want to start talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, she who shall not be named. It's similar to that in that it's listening all the time, and it's running that information through an AI model. And when it hears sounds of someone maybe having a fall or calling out for help or something like that, we can get alerts about this. It can also listen for positive interactions between our caregivers and our patients, and it can be used as a coaching tool for us, where we can coach our caregivers. We can also maybe coach family members. Hey, you're dealing with someone with dementia or Alzheimer's. Here's some tips that we can provide you to maybe make things less combative for you. Yeah. But just the other day, we were getting ready to go out of town, and this technology alerted us, and it alerted me, my wife, and one of our managers. My managers immediately called the closest family member. I got in the car and started driving to the patient's home, because it had detected a fall, and then it had detected someone crying for help.
Wow.
And me and the family member got there at about the same time. And sure enough, she had had a really bad fall and hurt herself pretty significantly. We were able to be there in about 5 or 6 minutes. And she lives at home. This patient that lives alone, we weren't scheduled to be there until about 10 a.m. the next day. And this was about 6:30 p.m. the night when it happened. there's a really good chance that she would have not been found by anybody until 10 o'clock the next day. And I believe firmly that that technology saved her life.
Man, that's what I hope for our future, where technology is helping us be better people to each other, spend more time, and solve so many problems that are just, part of living. But it's funny because, let's look at a different story real quick. This is my story. I went home to visit a family member, my sister, and we're sitting around the kitchen table and just having a nice visit. And she gets a phone call from a neighbor. But the neighbor is in we're in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia area, and Harrisburg. The daughter is calling from several hours away, calling my sister saying her mom fell. Can you run over across the street? Now, that is not a reliable solution. Just happened to be home, happened to answer. And of course, they're close enough. We all did, me and my brother-in-law, and we went over, and sure enough, she was laying alongside her bed. And, if we weren't there, we always wondered. And I remember thinking, man, that happens too much. This is the awareness part. And I believe, didn't your CEO, Jeff, ride his bike? Didn't he have a bike? Did he do that? Yeah.
He rode it around the country, and he got stopped at our location, and we got to enjoy that. But yeah,
very cool stuff. Because you wonder, how does that happen? This woman was 92, I think. I mean, she had her wits about her. No, she was pretty, but physically, it was hard for her to get around, and she had a walker, and so it just, we don't want to leave that exposed. It just seems too risky to me to even have someone living alone like that. But if you've got technology that maybe helps with that, or, for the hours that they're by themselves or whatever, amazing stuff. It's a great story. Glad that you're, so tell me, is there anything else that you found like that in the home, security, anything like that you found that's really cool or that you're using? Or
I mean, we've tried a number of different things, and of course, there's all kinds of gadgets and stuff that come along too, right? Not all technology is good and useful, and bears fruit, right? But this one in particular, we're really, really excited about what AI is going to do, and like I said, the services that we provide, Rob, are non-medical, but we're so closely connected with the medical side of things, and of course, we get a lot of, medical journals and things like that we read, what they're doing by, doing imaging and running that through an AI model. And it's finding things that humans missed. And I just think in the grand scheme of things, especially, just looking at our into the market in long-term care, we're incredibly excited about what that technology, is going to bring. And the innovators who are going to take these technologies and use them, like when I think of AI, I think of ChatGPT, or something like that, right? And we use that, we'll use it to write Facebook posts or, some little marketing, thing. But to have some type of device that's listening and keying in and learning, about these situations, we get alerted. You may know this when someone has Alzheimer's or dementia, a sudden mood change, especially in women, one of the things that can cause that is a urinary tract infection. And it's very common, and it's a very common signal that someone maybe has a UTI. The AI will alert us to that, and it'll say, "Hey, possible UTI." So we can make a quick phone call to their home health company or doctor, and say, "Hey, we suspect there may be a UTI. Would you take a sample?" I mean, and it nails it almost every time. It's incredible.
Wow.
What it's capable of learning and doing. So that's the most significant thing that I think is coming. But again, Jeff,
we don't know what's next.
Jeff and our franchise system have all kinds of stuff that they're working on. I mean, and I probably can't talk about some of it because he's pulled back the curtain and let us see it. But it's truly incredible what's coming down the pike. Very, very quick.
Very cool. That's great to hear and very important. And it goes back to us spending more time with each other, right? You guys can focus and different ways with the relationship and being, just human to human relationship. And you are in that ideal sort of industry where, like you said earlier, where, you're a very intimate business model. But I feel all business models can become more intimate because of AI. So I'm really excited what this means for everybody. So we can maybe slow down and focus on each other a little better instead of staring at screens, trying to figure it out. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about, we didn't talk much about training because, you did have a background, so you knew the brand and the industry. But certainly, Adie, you had to jump in and learn the business. And then Mike, later on, you kind of came in and had to learn the franchise owner side. Tell me a little bit about that path. I mean, a lot of people probably wonder, do I have to be more medically inclined? Do I have to have a healthcare background? I know it has a lot to do with your heart. So maybe talk a little bit about that. But tell me a little bit about the training and a little bit about what is a good fit. Like who is a good candidate for this kind of a business?
Well, I think a good candidate, like you said, has to have the heart for this. You have to be passionate about taking care of people. And, that I don't have a nursing background. I don't have a medical background. I was a stay-at-home mom and, wanted to care for my grandparents. I went through the franchisee training and, learned a lot. One of the best things that I utilize, still to this day is talking with other franchise owners. We have our quarterly conferences and we'll get together and, talk about, what's working in your office and just learn from each other. So we have this, close-knit family that we can reach out to. I can pick up the phone and call one of the other offices if I have a question. We can call the corporate office if we have a question, about software or about, any kind of situation. So I feel like we've got, good lifelines there.
Yeah.
And not just the procedural stuff or the process stuff either. Talking about goals and, how do we see growth? What are the pitfalls of growth, right? Growth can be incredibly challenging, and early on we grew rather quickly, and I don't think we were prepared for some of that. We didn't have some of the systems in place. So maybe some of this is a little misery loves company, but Adie is right. Our franchise family, it's a whole group of people that we all want each other to succeed. As each franchisee succeeds, the franchise system as a whole succeeds, and that's how we all grow together, right? I mean, that's the essence of franchising. A little bit of Fran Dev coming out of me here, but
yeah, no, it's beautiful.
But if not in a franchise system, who are you going to go to that you can trust with some of these very difficult questions? Who can you share information with? You damn sure can't do it with your competitors, right? And then you can pay for consultants. Are you getting good advice? Are you not? What's that cost? So I agree. The training was incredible. A week at our corporate office, and then them coming to our location and helping us both on, just setting up the office. What equipment do we need? How many computers, printers? All that. From those mundane things to let's go out and market. Maybe you have a client. Let's go see what that is. Let's hire employees. All of this is new, to us, and especially new to Adie. But once you learn those things, them. It's the more subjective details, and that being part of a franchise system, I think, has really benefited us.
Oh yeah, I always talk about like the cost of a mastermind, right? Like you had talked about consultants and things, or you're involved in groups and networking groups and different support groups that might exist for business. But nothing is more powerful than a network, one brand working together in the same direction, supporting each other because you're all doing the same thing, similar things, different markets. But that's powerful. Like you just don't manufacture that without the idea of a franchise. And you need to get, it's funny because you got to get there. It takes a while to build 100 units or whatever. In fact, how many units do you guys currently have right now?
I don't even know right now,
Yeah,
so
quite a few. But the point is you got a lot of people, right? There's a lot of personalities, a lot of talent, right? A lot of skilled people that come in and become franchisees. So it's pretty exciting in that sense. But you guys did something pretty special because not a lot of people can do what you did in I think it was 2018, if I get that right, but you won Franchisee of the Year. And I wanted to kind of talk to you about that, like, and maybe couple that with any advice you might have for any new franchisee, right? Maybe it is coming into your brand, but just in general. And how do you get to Franchisee of the Year? Tell us a little bit about why that was and how did you make that happen?
I don't know how we got there.
It just happened. I was so happy to get it.
And you get there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think she makes a really good point. You know, in 2015 or thereabouts, we started on this very new software system that Jeff had developed, the franchisor had developed for us. And my lovely wife, who is not the most technologically gifted, and that she admitted to earlier, she from day one said, "I'm just embracing this, you know, out with the old, in with the new." And she's a bit risk tolerant, you know, and maybe not the earliest of adopters, but had faith. We started in 2014, and we had already seen that the system works, you know, over the first couple of years. And so I think it was easy for us to make that decision, you know, just adopt it, don't push back. It was difficult. You know, change is hard at times, very hard, especially anybody listening. I'm sure most of the people listening to this will have been through these types of software changes and things like that. And it can be very difficult. But we trusted the process. We trusted the system. We worked incredibly hard, you know, and by this time, when she won Franchisee of the Year, I was now in the business with her. It was demanding us, and we were also at a bit of a crossroads of what's the next step forward, you know, in growth look like for us. How can we not be both in the business, you know, daily, you know, in the daily grind of it all, right? We know that can't continue if we wish to grow. So, you know, how do we expand it? So we were kind of in those discussions at the time as well. But I think, you know, having the 80s since day one, her mantra has been, she never says no to any patient. And no matter the difficulty, the success of our business, while we have a great system, the success of our business is her incredible work ethic and passion to not leave any of our patients ever, you know, never question that we won't be there, you know, for them.
Right. It's people first, right? People first. Yeah. And it's good. You got to have a good system to make sure you can do that, right? Because otherwise you may not stay in business, and that's always a struggle with any kind of business, right? And that's a little bit what we said before is AI can maybe relieve some of the pressures that we have as business owners just with administration or different things. But if you say to yourself, our culture is about people first, we'll worry about it later. We have the systems in place to help us be able to do that, right? That way that's why the families always know you're like family. And it's like you said, and you have that level of trust. And once that's there, and that pays back in dividends is what I would guess. Then people talk about you and share the story, and you just get more referrals that way. And it just, that's beautiful because it's based on what we said earlier, treating people the way you want to be treated. So I think that's pretty cool to be able to do that in your business.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you real quick, and then maybe we can wrap up with any advice you might give to anyone thinking about the industry, right? Because I think at this point it's one, business ownership, but there's something special about this industry, and we need good people, right? There's no doubt. So any advice, but before that, is there anything about this business model that you would think people would get the wrong impression? Like, is there something different about running it that you didn't realize, and now you realize? Anything like that just kind of on the surface, it seems kind of obvious, but is there something you kind of surprised you about business ownership or maybe pleased you? Something that was, was nice to find out.
And I think probably the biggest surprise to us was employees. Just learning how to manage employees. I think that,
Okay.
you know, we learned how to take care of seniors and the processes for that. But you know, when you're dealing with human people, it's, you know, on both ends, they're humans, and you know, they do things, they get sick, and you know,
Yeah.
there's just there it's not easy black and white. So you have to learn to adapt and learn how to, you know, figure out how to best manage. I think that's probably the biggest hurdle, and
Yeah.
it's an ever changing hurdle.
It sure is.
Yeah, this is not a transactional business model in any stretch. You know, there's oftentimes our employee is with a particular patient for, you know, 4, 6, 8, up to 12 hours at a time. They do become like family, and so challenges are setting boundaries. Um, but we also have a very diverse workforce. I've got employees who are in their 60s. I've also got employees who are 22, and they're doing the same job, right? But the way they go about doing the job, or the way they go about communicating with each other or with us, is very different from one another. You know, my 60 some odd year old employee will come to the office and wants to speak face to face, or at the minimum wants to get on the phone. My 23-year-old employee doesn't want to have anything to do with talking to me on the phone. They would rather do it in a Snapchat or a text message or something like that, right?
Yeah.
That's been super challenging for us. You know, we're
Sure.
Gen Xers, and our, I mean, our children are the age of some of our younger. Well, let me back up. Our child does, one of our oldest child does work for us and does marketing for us.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, he's been texting me during this, and I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
I'm in a podcast right now. You know, I'll worry about you borrowing the truck to pick up a couch later. You know,
Yeah. 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 That's
and
funny.
so I think, you know, I think to her point, you know, us learning how to manage this diverse group of employees has probably been one of the most challenging aspects of running the business, and it's been rewarding at the same time, because we learn a lot, you know, through that process as well.
Yeah, they become part of the family, right? It's just, it's all of it. It's the community, it's your clients, it's your employees. It's you gotta figure it all out, but it is part of the family, and yeah.
Well, you know,
Surprise.
and Adie won the Franchisee of the Year award. Well, just last year, it was one of our caregivers who won our national caregiver of the year across our entire system. We were lucky enough that one of our employees was the Caring Senior Service Caregiver of the Year. Her and her husband went to our owner conference in Cancun, all expenses paid. You know, she was completely blown away, and they announced her in front of all of these different franchisees at our annual conference, and I mean, tears and
Oh,
cheers, and it was such an overwhelming experience for us. I mean, I can't imagine what Christina Devine, our caregiver of the year, what she thought about all of that. It was really incredible.
She was
And
so proud.
yeah,
well,
And
I
our
think that
caregiver got second this year.
that's right.
that's amazing. Well, I was going to say it has something to do with both of your heart, right? And the way you approach things. Obviously, you've been given the framework and the brand, and that's a big part. But yeah, that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. You won 2 very big awards, and there's a lot of you out there. So that's pretty important. So with that, I wanted to wrap our conversation up, but make sure that you shared how folks can get a hold of you in your local market. Maybe share that. And then if you had one last piece of advice for anyone, again, just maybe one thought that you wanted to leave with anyone thinking about participating in the industry, either as an employee or as an owner, but just anything at all you'd want to leave with the audience.
The easiest way to reach out to us is through our website. It's very simple. It's the name of our company, caringSeniorService.com.
Okay.
absolutely the best way to get a hold of us. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we're always available. We service an area in Brazoria County. We're in Texas, south of the outer skirts of the Houston metro area. And our headquarters are in Lake Jackson here. So as far as the best piece of advice, you know, being on the franchise development side, you know, you having a long career doing that as well, you know, 99% of the people that we talk to do not wind up moving forward, you know, with your particular brand that you're representing. And so I think it's important to, you know, I remember when I first got started, you know, they said, this guy loves to play golf. He wants to get into a golf franchise. The last thing you're going to do running a golf franchise is play golf, because you're running a business. And so, you know, that business, the process of running the business is what is the most important aspect in my viewpoint of what someone needs to be looking at when evaluating any franchise system. But specifically Caring Senior Service, I can think of very few things that are as satisfying, gratifying, and rewarding as taking care of our loved ones. And there are a lot of us who are not nurses, are not doctors, but who have a servant's heart and feel compelled and called to serve each other, that this is a really, really incredible fit. And, you know, a lot of people are nervous or scared. You know, starting a business is every bit as big as buying that first home, as making, you know, as getting married. It is a life altering decision. And so the more someone can research and really soul search what motivates them, what makes them happy, if it's to serve others in some capacity, if it's a desire to excel in everything that you do, then, you know, Caring Senior Service, I think, is an excellent choice for someone who's looking at something like that. It doesn't have to be, you know, I care about giving, you know, old people a bath, right? It doesn't have to be that, you know, but this desire to serve one another. It's someone with a servant's heart, you know, I think is ideal for what we do. And if anybody has a question about that or wants to, you know, look into that, reach out to me on my website also. And I'm willing to share. I'm always willing to share. I've had nothing but mentors. We've had mentors both in the system and outside the system. I love sharing our story with others, and willing to do so with anybody who's willing to ask.
I hear that a lot on these conversations, and I always tell people, take them up on it. Take them up on it. That's the thing about the franchise industry, is it's very giving, very, very giving. And that's good, because you're serving all the time, right? You're helping those folks too. Hopefully they get to the place they got to go, and we have better business owners everywhere. But Adie, what do you think? What was a good piece of advice?
A piece of advice for someone starting in senior care. I don't know. Look at your heart, and I think
it starts there, right? That's what's driven your success. So it's that simple, right?
Just
it's not that complicated.
You know?
Well, it's awful hard, right? To say, it's easy to say, oh, it's just about your heart, but that is easier said than done. It has to be in your heart. So don't force it. So anyways, well, listen, you guys, I appreciate you sharing your journey. I appreciate the work you do, because as I said, I've kind of been in that a little and experienced it on the other side. And it is great work. It is an industry that is obviously going to be propelled here in the future, with aging population really starting to accelerate, as you guys know. And so thank you for the work you do, and thank you for sharing your story with us today.
And thank you, Rob.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us. It's been a real pleasure, and it's been a joy to talk with you today. Thank you.
You got it. And I just wanted to thank the audience for tuning in And keep on tuning in. If you like what you hear, share it. And we appreciate you too. And bye for now.